There are trillion-dollar industries built on answering one single question. What is the future? Before Apple, Google, or more recently, companies like Airbnb or Stripe became massive enterprises, they were just small groups of people with a vision and the will to execute it. This podcast focuses on that stage, the early stage. We seek out founders with high aptitude backgrounds. Maybe they've won a dozen hackathons. Maybe they use AI so well that every time they build something, it goes viral on X. Or maybe they're up and coming through programs like Founders Inc., South Park Commons, ODF, or HF0. Or just maybe they have that something we want to bet on. Since we've been running this podcast since 2019, we've interviewed the founders of Deal, Turing, Mercury, and hundreds of others at the pre-seed stage. And now we're looking for the next one. We find these founders, we interview them, and we track them over time. And our bet is a good portion of these guests will go on to build the billion-dollar companies of tomorrow. We won't be perfect, but every guest has passed our sniff test, has an interesting story to share, and is on a trajectory worth watching. This is Forward Thinking Founders. I am your host, Matt Sherman. Let's get into it. All right, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Forward Thinking Founders, where we talk to founders about their companies, their visions for the future, and how the two collide. Today, I'm very excited to be talking to Carly Malatskey, who's the founder, CEO of Joey AI. Welcome to the show, Carly. How's it going?
Good, Matt. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on. As I told you before we started recording, and as the listeners can tell who haven't seen an episode pop up in like 6 months, the podcast is back. This is kind of like the episode that's bringing us back into relevancy. Got a few more recorded after this. So I'm stoked to have you on to kind of break the seal of no podcasting this year.
I love it. I love it. Let's get back into it.
Okay, so let's dive into it. So Joey AI, can you explain to everyone listening, what is Joey AI?
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. And yes, what is Joey AI? So it's a dating company. Joey is an AI matchmaker that gets to know you entirely over the phone. So there's actually no app to download at all. It lives in your phone contacts. And let's say, you're single, right? You call Joey. Joey asks you questions over the phone, gets to know you. And then from there would text and ask for photos. So I'm not trying to bring back blind dating here. And then from there, Joey would text and say, hey, Carly, here's someone you should meet. And here's why. And it really goes from this like matchmaker to then almost a wingman, and helps with that process as well.
Oh, that's interesting how you ended that. It's not just a matchmaker, but a wingman. So I have a lot of questions about the UX here, but I want to focus on that. I'm married, happily married, so I wouldn't use this for myself. I would definitely send this to many of my friends. If someone was to use this and maybe go through the flow, get matchmake with someone. How is Joey a wingman? I just want to skip straight to that. Like what does that look like?
Okay, I love it. So there's so much I could talk about, even just, my passion for relationship science and evolutionary psychology and all of that. That is really the inspiration for Joey. But how is it a wingman? Okay. Right now in the current state of things, there's so many little breakdowns when it comes to dating. All right. You're lucky, Matt. You're married. You don't even have to deal with this. I'm not, unfortunately. I'm single. And so some of the breakdowns that I could kind of give you a sense of is, right, someone likes you on Hinge, let's say. And then, say a guy liked me, and then I'm like, oh, okay, he's the guy though, so he should still write the first message. Whereas he is maybe thinking, like I initiated it, like I'm done here. And so there's all these little breakdowns. Yeah. And so what I mean by wingman, this is one very small example, but like Joey would actually say, hey, by the way, like you've been chosen to text first. And Carly's ideal first date is like just grabbing a drink. So there's no guessing, because there's so much guessing that happens that doesn't actually have anything to do with compatibility. It really just has to do with how do you go and meet that person? And there shouldn't be guessing there. And so that's a part of it. And then naturally, a big part of the wingman is after the date, you'd call Joey and debrief the date of how it went. And, a second date, is that on the table? Or, should I get a new match? All of that. And Joey really just takes that, gets to know you so well to ultimately help you show up best for that relationship.
This is a brilliant idea. This is just so smart. I love this. So I do want to dive into you can work on anything you want in this world, especially with AI. You can build anything you decide to work on in this space. Why Joey AI? Why this space? Walk me through the origin story here.
Yes, I would love to. So, like I said, I've loved relationship science for a long time, and I've just really eaten the research up. So, why do two people come together? What predicts relationship outcomes? And a lot of it is coming actually from this evolutionary psychology lens, right? And so, that's almost thinking of how technology has changed things when it comes to two people coming together, but also actually how it hasn't in many ways as well. And not too long ago, Matt, I found something in my Google Drive where it's this like deep mental map from 2016, okay, 10 years ago, of dating apps at the center. And then where's it going in the next 5 to 10 years? Okay, so I've been thinking about this, when I was a freshman at Stanford. And then my last job before leaving and starting Joey full time was at an early stage venture capital firm called Floodgate. So I would see, similar to the founders you talk to, like at that stage, I would talk to a bunch of founders and dating startups. So many dating startups. I had to know everything about each one. I talked to the founders, I talked to users, and they were all copy paste of Bumble, Hinge, and Tinder with like a slight nuance, and I'm like, okay, nothing is that remarkable to me. And I would be whiteboarding things, different ideas, and then I'd be erasing it, being like, okay, Carly, let's relax. Let's calm down a bit. We're not starting a dating company. And then everything ultimately really shifted for me when ChatGPT came out. I was just like, okay, we're in a whole different world. How we talk to AI, what we're comfortable sharing. Not only are we getting this instantaneous response from AI, but now a very satisfactory one. And so even both from an investing lens, but also obviously in dating, I was just like, there's something so fascinating here where AI can facilitate these maybe vulnerable conversations. And then the natural progression from ChatGPT was voice AI. I talked on the phone to an AI agent, 5-minute phone call conversation, completely unrelated to dating. And it felt like 2 seconds, shared all this information about myself. And truly, as I hung up the phone, I was like, oh, this is it. Without a doubt in my mind, this is where dating is going. We don't need an app. We need to talk. We share so much through voice. And this was fall of 2024. And I left my job in January of 2025 to start this.
Well, as we say in the tech world, congratulations for leaving your job. Anytime anyone leaves a job to start a company, I'm like, let's go. That takes courage. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
So, okay, alternative universe, I'm single. I hear about Joey on this podcast, or I see an ad or something. So the UX is, so there's no app to download. So is this number, is everyone text the same number? Or is everyone call the same number?
Exactly.
Walk me through what someone that's going to be doing this right after this podcast, they're going to hear this, they're going to say, I got to call Joey. What's that person going to be experiencing? You kind of already said it, but is there more, can you give us specific details on what they would experience if they were to call that number?
Yes, absolutely. So first, I would say even the website, calljoey.ai. That's the website. So they can go there, and then there's a button to literally text or call Joey. So you're right. It's a phone number. Everyone has the same phone number. Joey is one entity, if you will. And then say I text Joey. I say, hi, Joey. Joey would reply, and this is in messages, your normal messages in your phone. Joey would reply and say, hey, glad you reached out. Give me a call to get started. So you do have to call. It can't only be on text. And there's a reason for that, right? Is because there's so much nuance of being just a human and what we're interested in and who we are. And we want to make matches from that, by getting to know you so well. The whole point is that Joey can then say, this is who you should meet and this is who you should know. So anyway, I talked to Joey, what you can expect, an Australian voice. Okay, so Joey's Australian.
Love
and
that.
Yes, exactly, very intentional. And then from there, Joey can guide the conversation and will guide the conversation, but ultimately, say I want to talk about something very specific to me or something that I know is important to me when it comes to my relationship, I can mention that, right? It's a very free-flowing conversation, but Joey will basically ask, basic information. And then what is, in my opinion, one of the exciting parts of it is Joey actually gets to know you based off of your just everyday behaviors. So tell me about your morning routine. Did you cook or order food in last night? When did you go to bed? Things like that, rather than this presenter mode that the dating apps really force us into. And it rarely conveys who we actually are. So I want to get away from that. So then after talking to Joey for about, 8-ish minutes is, I would say, average, then Joey would text you after the call and then ask for photos. And so I would send 2 photos to Joey. And then from there, Joey would text me and say, hey, Carly, this is who you should meet. And I could say yes. I can opt in. If it's a mutual yes, Joey would introduce us in a separate text message.
And I feel like this is like, I don't know because I haven't been on the apps in like a long time, but I feel like when you share the photos as like a big product consideration, is it immediate? It's like, this is this person, here's their photos, here's your photos, you should meet. Is there any like, kind of not sharing that information to get, to see if there's compatibility? Like, how do you think about that kind of stuff?
Yeah, good question. So I would say the one of the most important parts of this is even that beginning stage of Joey just getting to know you, right? So even after the call, Joey may follow up with a question, whether it's about, past relationships, how you view different values, whether it's family, money, like all these different things. So Joey just continues to get to know you. And then when Joey finds a match, Joey would share enough context for you to get a good idea. And that does include photos, because photos are important, right? But it's just not everything. Right now, it's really treated as everything, and it's hurting only us, right? Like, we are hurting our chances and abilities to form really deep connections with people. And so it's not everything. And then Joey will tell me more information about this person, and I can also ask questions. I could say like, hey, did he go to college, or what college did he go to, if Joey didn't mention that, right? And so yeah, it's it's literally like you're texting a matchmaker, honestly.
And is this with matchmakers? From what I see on TV shows, like you have a constant dialogue with a matchmaker. Oh, this date went well, this date didn't, etc. I guess the question is does Joey learn more about you over time, or is the ideal is that like this 8-minute conversation kind of gets everything Joey needs? Like, how do you think about that?
I'm so glad you asked that, because it's definitely the former. So Joey continues to get to know you. And that's where that wingman approach comes in as well, right? So even after the date, Joey's learning just by your experience. And then that will come into another match that Joey introduces you to, or even for your second date. So yes, Joey's constantly learning about you. You can always update things. You can always change things. Yeah, it's a very constant, ongoing trust and relationship with your matchmaker.
So how do you, I don't want you to share any special sauce, of course, but I'm genuinely curious. This is like a new kind of software, a new kind of experience for getting people together. How do you like market this? Do you just like get a billboard and just like put the number up? It's like meet your matchmaker, or like, there's a million ways to market it. So how do you think about just like getting the word out? Obviously you're on this podcast, that's helping get the word out. What are other things that you're just thinking about in fun ways to kind of spread this kind of consumer energy out?
Totally. So a couple of things, right? And like you said, there's so many. The bucket of marketing really is freaking endless these days. But I think, like you said, there's a founder-led approach, which is me, talking to you and your listeners and everyone and sharing Joey with them. And then also, as a consumer company these days, content is so important. So just like content, right? Like if you go to my Instagram and my TikTok and Joey's Instagram, there's just me talking about dating advice and dating tips and just like being very present in this conversation, and talking to relationship scientists. Like that's another big avenue. And then beyond that, a big thing, maybe even the biggest, is partnering with existing communities. And communities where being a part of that community, being a member, is already a big part of your identity. And so then Joey can almost live in the background and say like, hey, there's already such a strong foundation here. Why don't we matchmake within this community? Yeah. Like that is a really great way. So I would say that's a really big one as well.
So I'm in this space, not in the dating world, but like matchmaking founders and investors. I've been doing this stuff for like 8 years, and I really study dynamics a lot. And what I found is that the absolute best business model for a startup, not necessarily a fund, which is kind of the world I'm in, but like a startup, is this this is already a community with trust that's flowing. Let's unlock that community with added like connectivity. That is just like, I love that. I have like 5 communities. I would, if you're offering this now, hit me up, because I got communities that could embed this into. Yeah. I think that's a really, really wonderful idea.
No, absolutely. And the fun thing, Matt, is that we've done in communities where like dating is not even a topic, right? It's more of just, it could be a professional network. And what's so great is, I don't know if this is, something, what I will say is if you are in your late 20s, your 30s, your 40s, and you are single, you have your life, you're doing things, but at the end of the day, when you're going to an event or you're being a part of a community, you are thinking, I would love to meet someone here,
Totally.
right? Like as a Stanford alumni, great. I would love to meet someone who also went to Stanford. That is a really great community. And so you're totally right. There are so many existing communities that we can just have Joey on in the background where, again, because it's on an app, because there are no front-facing profiles, it's a very confidential thing. You're really just opting in. So it kind of lends itself so well as like a activation for a community.
You just gotta email, I think, president@stanford.edu. You'd be like, let's go. Like, let's get it running.
Exactly. Totally.
So I'm curious, so you were an investor for a period of time at Floodgate, which is like, for those that don't know, one of the top like pre-seed and seed funds like in the world. I mean, Mike Maples and I feel like both of them kind of almost pioneered pre-seed and seed, right? A long time ago. And they were like at least from my knowledge, Mike was like one of the OG super angels. So you got to like learn a ton from those two and everyone else at the firm. What do you think you took away from Floodgate that has enabled you to either come up with this idea or get as far as you've gone, or just like contributes to where you're at now? What did you learn from Floodgate?
Wow, I love that question because I love Floodgate. I will say that. You're so right. Ann and Mike, one, just as a duo, they are just freaking dynamite. Like they have been in it for so long. And first of all, the reason why I joined Floodgate, right, was Ann, she was my professor at Stanford. And so I didn't necessarily be like, oh, I want to be a VC. I want to be an investor. It was interesting, but I was just like, I just want to work with Ann. I just want to learn from her. And I was her chief of staff for about a year of that time. And it was amazing. And so I think what I learned from Floodgate was a lot of things, but one was just like, obviously, how to think about companies, how to think about living in the future. So Mike's big thing is just like, how can you step outside from the present and put yourself 5 to 10 years from now? Because as a pre-seed investor, that's ultimately what you have to make a bet on, right? Is you're not thinking right today. It's more of like, is this the future that we see coming? And is this the founder to do that? And so I think so much is evaluating founders, the people. I think I learned a lot of just like the traits that you look for in a founder and like that sense of obsession and all of that. And then a big thing is just riding an inflection, right? So like why now is like a big element too, as to why you're going to succeed, because naturally you're competing against incumbents and then you have a little startup with minimal resources. So something has to be happening external to your startup that can really set you up. And so, yeah, but they're incredible. They're truly like really great humans beyond just being great investors. So
I feel like when I was first getting into VC and startups, Mike is like known to have this quote. I think it's Mike's, which is like your fund size is your strategy, or your fund. It's something like that.
Exactly.
And it's one of these things that I've like carried with me, which is like not a crazy. It's like it's pretty logical. You think about it, it makes a lot of sense, but it's not really logical when you hear it for the first time. Or if you're just getting into VC, you just like hear that and you're like, huh, that actually makes a lot of sense. And I don't know. I just like it's like him, Paul Graham, and a few others are like formative for me as I was getting to startups. So that's pretty awesome. You're able to work with him and with Ann and like the rest of the team.
Totally.
How do you think about just like your next, I'm not even going to say 3, 4, 5 years, like, next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, like, is it GTM? Are you hiring? Like, is it like pretty much, I feel like the world is your oyster. All the dating apps suck, in my opinion, from what I hear from my friends. Like, they all suck. Your TM is very big. Like, how do you know how to spend your time? How do you even decide how to spend it?
Wow. Yes. Something I ask myself all the time. No, it's such a good question because I think you're right. We're at such an exciting time. Like we are truly at the cusp of what dating will look like. I really think it's like 2010 Tinder, like we are in the next phase of what dating is looking like. And I think for me, so much of it now is, go to market, getting it out there, and then hiring, growing the team, like all of the above. It's a matter of just in the current week or day or sprint, what is that priority? And so that's top of mind right now, but a lot of it is just like running with the momentum, and finding that.
What is something that you, the forward-thinking founders community can help you with? Like, you're probably trying to get adoption. What else can we help with for those that are listening?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I would say Probably two things. So one, like you mentioned, right? The communities you have, great, let's talk. I would love to bring Joey to those communities. And so I think a lot of it is kind of this, hopping on board and sending it to single friends and things like that. I would say like the launching and go to market is probably a big one. And then we're also hiring. So we're looking for an engineer. Right now we're hiring for an engineer. We really just started that process. And so if, people are listening and they're great software engineers, then like, please reach out to me. But yeah, in general, I think it's more of just like the excitement around it and introducing it to people, because I think it's a really exciting time.
You're hiring athletes. Let me ask you a question. So I'm non-technical. But I feel like I am. I've Claude coded my whole back end for MatCap, and I feel like I'm like a senior engineer that if I wanted a job, I could get paid $300 a year. I'm like, it's kind of a joke because like I probably couldn't, but I feel like I can build anything that I want. So, but everyone's still hiring engineers. So I'm curious for you, like, are you hiring someone that can Claude code? Are you hiring someone that can do full stack? Like, how do you even know who to hire when kind of anyone can code? This comes from, again, a non-technical like brain. So like, help me understand, how do you hire a full stack developer in 2026?
Yeah. Okay. So you hit on something so relevant today, because I do think hiring has fundamentally changed. So how I see it is let's take like product first before even engineer. So like product, when we hiring a product manager right now, we're actually looking more for that scrappiness of using Claude Code and is able to like vibe code and build something. That is far more exciting than maybe someone who has 5 to 10 years of product experience, but has never touched Claude Code or AI or things like that. Because that's how you just move fast, especially in a startup, right? But ultimately, any organization could benefit from it. When it comes to an engineer, I think it's knowing how to use AI, right, to help you with your job, but ultimately, like, you should fully know how to build it yourself, right? And like AI should just be a facilitator, if you will, or just kind of helping you maybe execute on a feature faster. Totally. But I think that's very different than product and whatnot. So at the end of the day, those core fundamental engineering skills and the experience of being an engineer is really important. But again, I would rather have a great engineer who's maybe even earlier in their career, doesn't have so much experience at a big tech company, but is able to produce really fast output, rather than someone who's maybe been, engineer for the past 15 plus years and is really like, no, I'm anti, because people are, get people who are, like, no, this is not it's not the same level, all of that. But I think there's quite a middle ground there.
It almost feels like, I just kind of came up with this, but I feel like it's accurate. You have people that, you cavemen, that know only way to how to make fire is like taking two sticks and rubbing them together. And then you have someone that's like, oh, have you used a lighter yet? And they're like, why would I use a lighter when I have these two sticks? It's like
exactly
the same thing.
Yeah, I think it is similar. No, you're so right. I think it is.
So funny. Well, if someone wanted to, I guess on a few fronts, if someone wanted to, try it out, text Joey. What's the number? How do people, where can people engage with Joey and like start the conversation? And then if someone just wanted to follow along their journey, the company, just see what's going on, is there like Twitter, LinkedIn, a way that they can follow the journey of the actual company building process?
Totally. So I'll start with the first question. If you are single, right, or you have single friends, then tell your friends or go to calljoey.ai and then get to know, text Joey from there. Or, like you said, go to your messages, and as if you're texting someone new, Joey's number is 310-234-5639. So it's actually kind of easy to remember, which is great. But 310-234-5639. I kind of sound like like when you leave a voicemail, you're like, my number is, like back in the day. Yeah. So anyway, that's Joey's number. But then, yes, to follow along. So Call Joey AI is Joey's Instagram. Follow along that content. That's kind of like this build in public mode, which is great. And then you could really follow along of how we're doing. And then my own personal Instagram is my full name, Carly Malatskey. And I do a lot of dating videos. So if you are looking for dating advice or tips, then that is exactly where you should go. And then my LinkedIn. Yeah, my LinkedIn's Carly Malatskey. So obviously feel free. And if people have questions, thoughts, like my, email, everything is open. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. I am excited to see how the world adopts Joey, and I'm looking forward to following along myself. So thanks again for coming on.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. This was great.